Constitution is a set of fundamental rules that determine how a country or state is run. Almost all constitutions are codified, which simply means they are written down clearly in a specific document called the Constitution. The Constitution 1987 is the fundamental law of the land of the Philippines. It establishes the structure, policies and rules and duties of the Philippine government. It contains the Bill of Rights, or the Article 3, and states all the state's obligations to promote and uphold social justice and human rights. We have fundamental rights. It is a group of rights that have been recognized by a high degree of protection from encroachment. These rights are specifically identified in the Constitution or have been found under due process of law. When we have checks and balances, are fundamental elements of constitutional democracy that prevent the unconstrained exercise of power, improve the quality of decision-making, and ensure the mechanism exists for preventing or penalizing unethical behavior. When we have the freedom of speech, this is a principle that supports the freedom of individual or a community to articulate their opinions and ideas without fear of retaliation, censorship, or legal sanction. Is freedom of association. Freedom of association is one of the most basic rights enjoyed by humans. It ensures that every individual is free to organize and to form and participate in groups either formally or informally. Next one is democracy. Democracy is a system of governance that determines the rule of the nation of, by, and for the people. Constitutional democracies maintain core principal elements such as freedom of speech, freedom of the press, separation of powers, and a system of accountability for elected leaders. Last one is freedom of religion. It's the right to choose what religion to follow and to worship without undue interference. Religious liberty is a principle that supports the freedom of an individual or community in public or private to manifest religion or belief in teaching, practice, worship, and observance. It also includes the right not to profess any religion or belief or not to practice a religion.
Our journey begins with the 1899 Constitution. The 1899 Constitution was formerly known as the Malolos Constitution, named after the city of Malolos, where it was drafted and adopted. It was the first republican constitution in Asia and marked the Philippines' attempt to establish a sovereign government during the Philippine Revolution and subsequent Philippine-American War against Spain, then American colonial rule. The Malolos Constitution was promulgated on January 21, 1899, and it established the first Philippine Republic with Emilio Aguinaldo as its first president. The Constitution included provisions for a tripartite government with executive, legislative, and judicial branches. However, the First Philippine Republic faced significant challenges due to the ongoing conflict with American forces. This conflict eventually led to the defeat of the First Republic, with the Philippines coming under American colonial rule. The Malolos Constitution was effectively replaced by the American colonial government, and it had a limited impact on the subsequent history of the Philippines. This constitution represents a crucial chapter in Philippine history, highlighting the nation's early aspirations for independence and self-governance.
After the Spanish rule, the American came to the Philippines. The Philippines were again colonized for the second time. During the American period, an American-inspired constitution was made. This was the 1935 Constitution. So this 1935 Constitution is the second constitution of the country and served as its fundamental law from 1935 until 1973. it established the Commonwealth of the Philippines under the administrative of President Manuel L. Quezon. The Constitution provided for a presidential system of government and outlined the structure and powers of various branches of government.
First, it had a bicameral legislature. When we say bicameral, there are two legislatures composed of a Senate and a House of Representatives, which responsible for making laws. Second, the President was elected to a 4-year term together with the Vice President without re-election. Third, it included a Bill of Rights that was comprehensive, guaranteeing civil liberties and protections for Filipino citizens. It included provisions for freedom of speech, press and assembly, protection against unreasonable searches and seizures, and the right to due process and a fair trial. Last, it introduced the right of suffrage or the right to vote by male citizens of the Philippines who were 21 years of age or over and able to read and write. Luckily, the right was extended to women as well. The 1935 Constitution may not be the first constitution, but it was the first one to be fully implemented. However, the implementation was interrupted because of the Japanese occupation.
The Constitution 1973, the Constitution of the Philippines, saligang batas ng Pilipinas, is the supreme law of the Philippines. The 1973 Constitution is composed of preamble and 17 articles, provide of the system of government. Preamble: We, the sovereign Filipino people, imploring the aid of Almighty God in order to build a just and humane society and establish a government that shall embody our ideals and aspirations, promote the common good, conserve and develop our patrimony, and secure to our posterity the blessing of independence and democracy under the rule of law and regime of truth, justice, freedom, love, equality, and peace, do ordain and promulgate this Constitution. The meaning of this preamble are: the term preamble is derived from the Latin word preambular, which means to walk before. It is the prologue of Constitution. Clustered below are the good citizenship values that are reflected in the preamble of 1987 Philippines Constitution. The Constitution vests the legislative power in the National Assembly. A Prime Minister among the members of the National Assembly, head of government and commander in the chief of Philippines. President of the members, the National Assembly, and serves as the symbolic head of state. The judicial power is used in a Supreme Court composed of a Chief Justice and 14 justices. All justices of the Supreme Court and judges of the lower court are appointed by the Prime Minister. The Philippine Constitution 1973, Philippine Constitutional Authoritarianism, Marcos Constitution, but what it makes permanent that even 7 decades later, people still talk about it. So how? Let's go back from where it started. In 1965, Ferdinand Marcos was inaugurated to his first term as the 10th President of the Philippines on December 30, 1965. After against the incumbent President Diosdado Macapagal, Marcos won election with 51.94% of vote against his dad Macapagal and became the 10th President of the Philippines. So he pursued an aggressive program of infrastructure development founded, making him very popular throughout his first term and eventually the first and the under president on the third Philippines Republic to win a second term, which would lead to his declaration of the martial law in 1972. So President Marcos did a lot of contribution in our country.
The 1987 Philippine Constitution, also known as the Constitution of the Republic of the Philippines, is a fundamental law that governs the nation. This document was ratified on February 2, 1987, and it serves as the supreme law of the nation. It replaced the 1973 Constitution and has been instrumental in shaping the political, social, and legal landscape of the Philippines. The need for a new constitution arose in the mid-1980s, following the People Power Revolution of 1986, which ousted President Ferdinand Marcos Sr. The 1987 Constitution was created to establish a more democratic and inclusive system of government, moving away from authoritarian rule that characterized the previous regime.
The 1987 Philippine Constitution is a foundational document that embodies the aspirations and goals of the Filipino people, placing the strong emphasis on justice, liberty, and democracy. It establishes a system of government that adheres to the principle of the separation of powers, dividing authority among the executive, legislative, and judiciary branches to prevent the concentration of power in any single branch. Within its pages, the Constitution enshrines a comprehensive Bill of Rights, enumerating the fundamental rights and freedom of every Filipino citizen, including the freedom of speech, religion, and the right to due process. It also empowers the local government units, granting them the autonomy and resources, enabling them to have the say in their own affairs. Furthermore, the Constitution promotes economic provisions that aim for the equitable distribution of wealth and resources, fostering a self-reliant and independent national economy. It places a strong emphasis on social justice, with provisions for land reform and protection for marginalized sectors. The document safeguards the country's natural resources under the principle of national patrimony, ensuring that they are utilized for the benefit of Filipinos.
The Constitution provides its own amendment through a process involving a proposal by Congress or a constitutional convention and ratification by the Filipino people through a plebiscite. In conclusion, the 1987 Constitution is a pivotal document that reflects the nation's commitment to democracy, human rights, and the rule of law. It has guided the country through various political and social changes, and continues to serve as a bedrock of Philippine governance.